Hey everyone, this is Attorney Andre. So you've probably heard former President Trump has to post a $454 million bond for the fraud trial that's going on in New York. Now, let me ask you this question because you probably don't know, maybe you do know, but why does he have to post a bond anyways? Sure, so he lost the underlying trial. What's the point of the bond? Well, here's the reason. The reason why he's posting a bond is because he believes that the judge got it wrong, that the court is totally wrong, and he's filing an appeal. Now, there's two ways you can get a stay of execution. So, what President Trump is asking for is a stay of execution for the court, for the plaintiff in that case, to stop executing on the judgment so they don't take his property, so they don't seize his bank account, so they don't do any of that. Now, the only way he can get a stay of that execution is to post a bond or to get the appellate court to agree to an execution without a bond. And that's what he's arguing today. And that is what's going to come out. The court is going to make a ruling requiring him to post a bond or make a ruling that he doesn't have to post a bond because he has sufficient assets. Now, he already asked the court for a partial bond, not $454 million, but $100 million. And the court turned that down. He's asking for the court to allow a stay without a bond because he has sufficient assets to cover any kind of judgment against him. But here's the reality of the situation. The underlying court probably got it wrong because it was a fraud trial, and the purpose of the fraud trial was that the state of New York is saying that he overvalued his assets to the bank so they would give him more money, but then undervalued his assets in other things, for example, for tax implications or for other implications. And frankly, that's how all businesses operate. That is how all development operates. That's probably how you operate. If you were going to sell your car, you would tell me everything that's good about your car. You would tell me that it got an oil change last week. You would tell me that it has low miles. You would tell me everything good about the car, and you wouldn't tell me a lot of things bad about the car. But if, let's say, you wanted to buy the car from me, you would say, well, look, you know what? It's got high miles. It's not a brand new car. There are things wrong with it. So you would try to boost it up if you're trying to sell it for your benefit, and you would try to decrease what I would think if I'm trying to sell it to you so you can get it at a cheaper price. That's not fraud. That's business. That's how all business works, and that's what President Trump did with all of his properties. And frankly, that's proper. I haven't met a real estate developer that doesn't do it, and I'm an attorney. I represent tons of real estate development. My firm does escrow and closing work for real estate contractors, for developers, for a whole bunch of real estate professionals, and they all do it. It's all common practice. So why President Trump had fraud and no one else has fraud? Well, you probably know why. I think it's politically motivated. I think there's something fishy about it. But that's essentially why President Trump wants to stay. Because he's saying, look, I'm likely to win in the appellate courts. I'm likely to prove that this wasn't a fraud. I've got witnesses to testify that it wasn't a fraud. I had a whole trial put on where we proved that it wasn't a fraud. And because of that, it would be unfair for the state of New York to take possession of my assets, to liquidate my bank accounts, to take all of this stuff. And then if I win, I don't get my property back because they sell it to what's called a good faith purchaser of value. So, for example, they would take a Trump property in New York, put it for sale. It would be sold for under market value most likely because it needs to be sold to cover the judgment. It doesn't need to be sold for market value. So then if I were a savvy investor, I would say, well, look, I'm a good faith purchaser of value. Even though Trump might win on appeal, I don't know that. I'm not a fortune teller, so I'm going to buy it for pennies on the dollar. Then when I bought it for pennies on the dollar, Trump can't get it back if he wins on the appeal. He has to either come to me and buy it back from me, or I can just refuse to sell it. But he doesn't get the property back. The deal isn't canceled, but he already won on the appeal. So he was able to show that the lower tribunal was wrong. He was able to show all of that, but he still doesn't get his money back. He still doesn't get his assets back. And that's why he's asking for a stay of execution. He's saying that I'm likely to succeed on the merits. He's saying that I have my appellate remedies, and he's saying that I have substantial assets that can cover this. So that's why I should be allowed to have my appeal and preserve my assets. Sure, you can put a lien on it. Sure, you can make it so I can't dispose of my assets, but you shouldn't be allowed to take my assets from me. And he's right, because that's really the interest of fairness. Frankly, that happens all the time, And it is so unfair because you can prevail on appeal, but at the time that you've prevailed on the appeal, your assets, your house, your business, it's gone because they took it. And maybe they can give you the cash back. Maybe they can give you even the cash back plus, I think in New York it's like 8%, but it's not enough because the value of that property substantially exceeds the cash value that they would give him. So for those reasons, that's why former President Trump, needs to post a $454 million bond. He's asking the appellate court for a stay of execution without a bond or a limited bond, but that's really the reason why he wants to do it. He wants to do it so he doesn't get ripped off. He wants to do it so if he does win, then he gets to preserve his assets, because if he wins, he was right all along. Let me know what you think. Have you ever seen such a situation like that? Like, comment, subscribe. I can't wait to see what you think. Talk to you later.